Chapter 8. By the time Kikorio and Velissa reached the entrance to their base, which was nothing more than the small cave-like opening leading downwards, covered by trees and various plant life, Kikorio was virtually exhausted. Velissa was naturally much faster than him, and she wasn't considerate enough to slow her pace to keep him from lagging behind. As he finally ran up to Velissa, who was waiting impatiently by the door, he sheepishly said, "Ladies first?" To which she rolled her eyes and entered first. He quickly followed in after her. The base itself wasn't too much to look at, having a medium-sized entrance leading in a downward slope to a large open room. The only two things of note were the table near the north wall, which was a sort of meeting area, and two other passages branching out to the northeast and northwest, respectively, leading further into the base. Currently sitting at that table was a viper. He had short hair that was a muted black color at the back, and at the front, 3 bangs primarily fell over his forehead. 2 were gold, and the other was an off-red, almost pink color. His eyes were a similar off-red color. He wore an off-black hooded jacket with golden hexagon-looking markings along the sleeve, reddish lapels, I think that's how you pronounce that, and reddish cuffs around the wrists of the sleeve. Under the jacket he wore a long-sleeved dark gray shirt with an off-red diagonal line in the center that almost looked like a slash mark. His long pants were darker gray, like his jacket, and so were his boots. Around his left ankle was a reddish-colored bandage. Unsurprisingly, he was rather tall, being 6'2" in height. In his left hand he was holding a sharp, black and reddish-colored dagger that he was polishing with a rag. Some scars were visible on his hands, neck, and face. "Took you both long enough," he said, his open mouth revealing his slightly longer than normal canine fangs. "I'm sorry, did you have trouble trying to fill the time? My apologies, Aura," Velissa said, glaring. Kikorio kept silent, praying this wouldn't turn into a fight, but he knew it was inevitable. Aura shrugged. "It's not my fault you mismanaged the money with your trip into town earlier," he said, "so you both had to go back out again." "Mismanaged?" she cried. "We were out of money. We didn't have enough money for anything. That's what I said before I and Kikorio left." "It's not my problem," he said, unaffected. "Can't we just have dinner? I'll get..." Kikorio began, but was interrupted and largely ignored. "You know what we need to do? Go on a goddamn mission!" Velissa spat. Aura stood up, his face still showing little to no expression. "Fine. Any suggestions, since you're the team leader all of a sudden?" "How about you get your head out of your ass and stop plotting for a second so we can actually get something accomplished for once? This wouldn't be the first time we've entirely run out of money." Aura shook his head and smirked. I know, and I fix it every time, don't I? I'm sorry. I just figured it'd soon be a good time to strike again. After all, they should be coming back from that mission soon." Kikorio opened his mouth by accident to say something, but was cut off by Velissa reaching into Kikorio's satchel suddenly and throwing a citrus berry directly at Aura's head. "Ah, what the f—" Aura recoiled from the hit, as the berry naturally was extremely hard. "The goose chase ends here! I am sick of it!" she screamed. "Oh, Velissa, not this again! You know better than to bring this up," Aura said. Kikorio sighed. "You're only breathing right now because of me," Aura said. "Show a little bit more respect to your savior, huh?" Velissa threw her arms down. You promised me better than this." "Ho ho! And this isn't better than before? This is absolutely better than before. Don't think you can survive on your own. You still need me." "I need you like I need a hole in my head," Velissa said, not being able to look at him anymore. "This isn't what I deserve, to live my life like a savage." He walked over to her, then lifted her chin up to force her to look at him. "What you need is to really recognize how good you have it here. You leave and you live like a savage, like a true savage, and you tell me how well you do, She still didn't meet his eye and said nothing, or sighed, as if he were truly trying to reach her and failed. He backed away and put his hands up in a whatever sort of pose. All right. We'll go on a mission or something later," he said, aloof. "If it'll make you that happy. I need to keep you from complaining somehow, right?" Velissa still said nothing. "Kikorio," Aura said, turning his attention to the Arbok. Yes, boss?" Kikorio stood up to attention. "Why are you holding your arm like that?" The bag broke again. The hole came back," Kikorio explained. "Oh, that's fine then, I guess," Aura said, pretending to care. "You two find anything interesting, other than Velissa obtaining a wild hair up her ass?" Velissa huffed. Without thinking, Kikorio said, "We saw something interesting." He'll cut himself off before realizing that he wasn't supposed to mention that. Velissa stared at him in disbelief. "You idiot!" she screamed. Kikorio covered his ears, and the berries in the satchel spilled onto the floor again. Aura looked at this display, only looking to the pile and commenting, "That's not really a whole lot," before continuing with, "But anyway, what did you say?" "Nothing," Velissa said. Aura smirked and pointed his dagger at her. "Now, don't let me catch you in a lie." She faced Aura again and kept her head down. Kikorio poked his fingers together. We thought we saw something. It's nothing." He tried to be brave for Velissa, but it was of no use. "Come on, Kikorio, you're the smart one here," Aura said. Velissa practically steamed with anger and embarrassment. She visibly shook. Aura turned his attention fully to the Arbok. That included pointing the dagger at him now. Kikorio jumped. "Team of Coconut, I think, maybe?" "Oh, now you're talking." He sheathed the dagger into a pocket. "Where was this?" Outside Echoed Caverns," he admitted. He looked to Velissa, but she didn't look back. He knew he really screwed up. "They took a dungeon excuse me. I took a dungeon shortcut home despite coming from a dungeon? They had rookies with them, I think." Very, very ballsy. They should know better than that." Aura slowly paced as he talked, starting to think out loud. "That explains it. The base dumped some rookies on them, so they took them through Echoed Caverns. What was their status?" "Arioris was KO'd," Kikorio said. Aura chuckled. "This is great! This is the best possible time to have this happen. They're exhausted from the trip. Arioris is weakened." Kikorio tried to mouth an "I'm sorry" to Velissa, but she kept her line of sight firmly glued to the ground. "We're striking tomorrow morning, before they return to the base again." Aura continued, stopping his pacing and turning to his teammates. "I'm not doing it," Velissa said. "Oh, you can't even look at me when you say that," Aura replied, mocking her. "Come on, this is the perfect setup. Without Arioris, there'll be a cinch to defeat. Fleet's just too stupid to battle you both properly, and, well, I can handle Nikia." Velissa thought about it. She shook her head. "They are pretty weak without Arioris." "Besides, they have rookies weighing them down too," Aura said. "They'll be too busy protecting them to put up a good fight regardless." "Exactly," Kikorio said, trying to lighten the mood. "So, let's do this now, so we can win." "We can break them up for good," Aura said. She thought about it more and nodded. "All right, then we need to go on some missions," she added. "Whatever you want, Velissa," Aura said, smiling. Velissa looked up at him, saw his expression, and sighed. "I'm going to sleep." She left and headed off to the passage to the northwest. "Ah!" Kikorio began, though Aura cut him off. "Don't bother. She'll be in a mood for the rest of the night," he said, rolling his eyes. "You know women." Kikorio thought about it. He really didn't. Velissa was the only woman he extended contact with, other than his mother, he supposed. "Is this all you managed, by the way?" Aura asked. "Oh, sorry, it was getting late, and Velissa wanted some dinner and some sleep." "Lazy bitch," Aura scoffed. "Just get that to the kitchen. Let me know whenever you're done dinner," he said, walking towards the passageway to the northeast. Will do, boss." Without any words of complaint for even just the walls to hear, he gathered up the berries and put them back into the satchel, then went to put them away in the pantry in the northeastern passageway. Like on nights after Aura and Velissa fight, Aura had dinner in his room, and Kikorio ate in the main room by himself, and Velissa's plate was left outside her bedroom door, which was nothing more than a blanket covering the entranceway, and left untouched. Kikorio finished eating and went to check on Velissa. As he expected, the plate wasn't touched. He picked it up and debated on entering Velissa's room himself, but he didn't want to barge in without permission. "Velissa? It's me," Kikorio said. He didn't get a reply, though decided to try his luck and speak up a little louder. "Velissa, are you asleep?" "No," a sleepy voice said from inside the room. Kikorio smiled. Can I come in?" "Whatever," Velissa replied. He pulled aside the blanket and entered the room. Velissa's room was well kept. A couple of mirrors were visible, one prominent one right by the door. She had she had other chest-like items and other fancy-looking things in the room. They were a little scuffed up. Her bed was pushed against the northeastern corner of the room. Velissa was sitting up, though she didn't look at him. "Why did you wake me?" She was changed into her PJs, a silk, though slightly worn for wear, green and yellow nightgown. I made dinner. You should eat," Kikorio said. He sat at the foot of her bed and presented her the plate. She scoffed. "I'm not hungry." "You're always hungry," Kikorio said. Velissa glared at him. "Seriously? Is that how you're going to cheer me up, you idiot?" "Sorry, I meant just here." He held out the plate for her. She stared at the plate for a moment, trying to look annoyed, but sighed and ended up taking it anyway. You're a good cook, okay? That's the only thing you can do right. I can name a million other things that you're a failure at, though. I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Kikorio said. I didn't even think that Aura was going to force it out of me. I just shouldn't have said anything. It was foolish of me to think that we could have hid anything from him. He would have found out no matter what we would have done. Even if I had just seen it and didn't bother pointing it out to you, he would have forced it out of me anyway, Felissa said, pausing eating to speak and then continuing again the moment she was done. Kikorio nodded understandingly. Just sorry. Felissa shook her head so she wouldn't have to talk to pause eating again. You say that, well, you shook your head, but that's saying no, Kikorio said, losing his train of thought. I don't think it's fair, the way he treats you. Felissa sighed and exhaled through her nose. Between bites, she said, not that you can stand up to him either. I'm the only one with a spine here. Right, so what chance do I have? Kikorio thought out loud, but shook his head. I'll be there for you, like I always try to be. Felissa rolled her eyes, but Kikorio smiled. I'm really happy to see you eating, he said. She finished up her plate by the time he said that and handed it back to him. I do feel a little better now, she said. Kikorio smiled more. Good, I'm glad. Now sit up for a while so your food digests, and then you can go back to sleep. Felissa couldn't help but smile back. All right, I will. Kikorio stood up. Do you need anything? Water or something? I can make berry juice, too. That sounds nice. Some juice. All right, I'll be right back with that, he said. Felissa pouted a little. Don't be so nice. I'm trying to be in a bad mood. I would apologize, but... Kikorio grinned. Just get out of my room, Felissa said, clearly having her fill of time having to be spent with another person. Kikorio quickly obliged and left. Kikorio was walking back from the kitchen to Felissa's room to give her the drink she requested when he ran into Aura in the main room. He had a map laid out on the table and was very clearly doing some planning. What are you doing, boss? What's it look like, dumbass? I'm planning for tomorrow morning, he said. Oh, do you need my help? Kikorio asked. No, I would have liked Felissa here since she knows Wanting Woodland better than I do, but, she had to go and lock herself in her room all night. Aura shrugged. I could ask her if she wanted to help, Kikorio suggested before instantly realizing how stupid of an idea that was. Aura laughed. You idiot. This is why you don't help me plan anything unless I just need someone to tell me yes to everything. He finally looked over at the Arbok and saw what he was holding in his hand. What's that? Juice I made for Felissa. There's enough for a couple glasses, I think. Oh, good. Aura snatched the glass Kikorio had in his hand and took a sip. Thanks. He rested the glass on the table. Kikorio took this in stride, shrugging and going to get another glass for Felissa without complaint. And here's Team Suspiro. Aura Bane, the Viper. He's male and 21. His ability is Infiltrator, and he's naughty nature and mischievous.